Now, here's the second half of the book Flat Stanley. When we left off, Stanley had an idea to help catch the art thieves. Let's keep reading to learn more about Stanley's idea. That evening, in the main hall of the museum, Mr. Dart showed Stanley the most expensive painting in the world. Next to it was an empty picture frame. "And now, Stanley," said Mr. Dart, "it's time for your disguise." Stanley showed Mr. Dart the disguise he had brought. "This is a really good one, my cowboy hat and a red bandana." "I'm sorry," Mr. Dart said, "but we don't have cowboy pictures here. You must wear the disguise I have chosen." Stanley could hardly speak when he saw Mr. Dart's disguise. "I'll look like a girl," he protested. But Stanley was a good sport, so he put it on. In the main hall, Stanley climbed into the empty picture frame and stood very still. "Very nice," said Mr. Dart, and went off to arrange the rest of their plan. Now Stanley was alone. The hall was very dark, but enough moonlight came through the windows for him to see the world's most expensive painting. Maybe the sneak thieves won't come, he thought. Then, creak! A glow of yellow light shone suddenly in the center of the hall. A trap door had opened in the floor. The sneak thieves carrying lanterns came up into the hall. The thieves took the world's most expensive painting off the wall. "This is it, Max," said the first thief, whose name was Luther. "In all of this great city, there is no one to suspect us." Then Luther saw Stanley in his frame. "I thought sheep girls were supposed to smile, Max," he said. "This one looks scared." Stanley managed a tiny smile. "She is smiling, sort of," Max said. "And what a pretty little thing she is, too." That made Stanley furious. In his loudest voice, he shouted, "Police! Mr. Dart! The sneak thieves are here!" "Max," Luther whispered, "I think I heard the sheep girl yell." "Oh boy, yelling pictures. We both need a rest," Max whispered back. "You'll get a rest, all right," shouted Mr. Dart, rushing in with lots of policemen. "You'll get arrested, that's what." The sneak thieves were quickly handcuffed and led away to jail. The next morning, Stanley Lambchop got a medal from the chief of police. The day after that, his picture was in all the newspapers. For a while, Stanley was famous. People would point him out and whisper, "Over there, Agnes, Stanley Lambchop, the one who caught the museum robbers," and things like that. But then people began to make fun of him. "Hi, Super Skinny," they would call. Late one night, Arthur woke to the sound of Stanley crying. "What's wrong?" he said. Stanley sighed. "I want to be regular shape again, like other people. It's not fair." "You're brave," Arthur said. "You really are." And then Arthur had an idea. He turned on the light and ran to the big toy box in the corner. He tossed aside the toy soldiers, airplanes, and boat models. "Got it," he said, holding up an old bicycle pump. "Okay," Stanley said after a moment, "but take it easy." He stood with the end of the hose in his mouth, clamping his lips tightly so no air could escape. Arthur began to pump. If it hurts or anything, wiggle your hand, he said. Stanley's top half began to swell. Stanley got bigger and bigger. His pajama buttons burst off. Pop, pop, pop. Soon he was all rounded out except for his right foot. He shook the foot twice and it swelled to match the other one. There stood Stanley Lambchop as if he had never been flat at all. "Thank you, Arthur," Stanley said. "Thank you very much." Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop came in to see what the boys were up to so late at night. "George," said Mrs. Lambchop, "Stanley's round again." "I'm the one who did it," Arthur said. "I blew him up." Mrs. Lambchop made hot chocolate to celebrate, and several toasts were drunk to Arthur for his cleverness. When the little party was over, Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop tucked the brothers back into bed and turned out the light. "Good night," they said. "Good night," said Stanley and Arthur. Very soon, all the Lambchops were asleep. The end.